Test words. Ah, hello, there we go. That should be live and going. Hello, Jesus. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a stream where we've got a lot of stuff to discuss. This morning we had a little bit of news around Muharemovic. We've had a little bit of news around Cardalo. I say a little bit of news. We all knew what was going to be happening. And then it did happen. So I think that's going to be a little bit worthy of conversation as well, and the way that everyone is feeling about Cardalo at the moment. But yeah, it's worth sort of discussing absolutely everything as much as we can. Have a little bit of a chat maybe about World Cup bits and bobs. It's up to you guys as well as me, to be honest with you. That's how this goes. Mushin Ukani, sorry, says, good morning from Calgary. It's 11:32 here. Great to catch you live. Once you go live, that is. Sorry, yes, I took a little bit of time because right before I started stream, an Amazon van rocked up, which meant that I kind of needed to go and deal with that because that man had some noodles and a baby gate for me, which is eventually dealt with, and it's all fine and good and fantastic. We love to see it. Anyway, hope we're all well. Joe Tiff says it's done, but it's probably clickbait. Does he? Let's have a look. Let's have a look at what people are saying. I'm guessing this is Muharemovic. He's been told the deal's done, £30 million plus add-ons. That feels like that would be very, very fast. I believe the Marco Conterio tweet that he's sort of following up on is roughly what will be going on at the moment. So what we found out earlier in the day was Fabrizio Romano effectively saying that conversations will be ongoing today between Sassuolo and Leeds United. Discussions between the player and Leeds United had been done. The wages looked something along the lines of £70,000 a week, which seems like that's approximately right. Like, for a player coming into a Premier League side after having a very, very good season in Serie A, it makes sense. We know that when it comes to deals like this, we tend to load on wages as opposed to transfer fees, which is fine, to be honest with you. So yeah, we knew discussions were underway. We didn't know how advanced said discussions were. Now, Marco Conterio, who I am going to very quickly do a screen share of, there we go, says, for Tarik Muharemovic to Leeds United. I mean, specifically, instead of this, he says, per Tarik Muharemovic al Leeds United sono ore decisive. No one tag Andrea in this, just to be sure. Trattativa in corso, affare da 35 to 40 milioni di euro ci si può definire col l'UFC. Alla Juventus in caso di fumata bianchi il 50% della rivendita. So, in essence, in English, that's to Juventus 50% of the resale, which we all sort of knew about. We were fully aware of all this. It's now just a sort of point of, is it a move that is secured, or is it a move that is being discussed as secure? And at the moment, it's looking relatively secure. According to James Howe... Okay, in terms of the person who broke the Beal news, are you talking about Marco Conterio, or are you talking about Joe Tiff? Because very different conversations to be had in terms of their typical focus in terms of transfer news. But the sort of rough timeline of what's gone on with Tarik Muharemovic was yesterday. We knew that we were about to get in talks club to club. This morning, we found out Marco. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much. This morning, we found out that Leeds and Sassuolo were going to have discussions around what was going to go on with Tarik Muharemovic. It seems like those discussions have happened, and folks like Marco have effectively said, look, negotiations are well on the way, and at the point that you're saying this deal can be finalised, it's effectively done. Like, as much as Joe Tiff's sort of reliability as a source varies from time to time, it's not one of those situations in which I'm looking at it and I'm going, well, this is obviously wrong. It's one of those situations in which you look at the situation and you go, all of this sort of adds up. We are currently in a position where we'll be on the brink of confirming this deal, regardless of sort of timeline and stuff like that. Sorry, I've got a really, really bad sort of bout of hay fever, so that's fun. Also, saying Paixão 2.0 is a very early call to say Paixão 2.0, considering you didn't know Tarik Muharemovic existed this time last week. Like, the speed of which we've gotten this one done is far, far more than the Paixão deal. That one took like a month, if I remember rightly. Sorry about that. And there were far more sort of clubs with an interest, and we were battling against Marseille as opposed to Sunderland and Bournemouth. Like, different levels in this one. Believe it or we'll see him in a Leeds shirt. I mean, that's fair enough, but at the same time, you can say that about literally any bit of transfer news. Like, you could have equally said for the last week and a bit that Caldalo wasn't going to Manchester United because we've not seen him in a Man United shirt. And then today we see him in a Man United shirt, and we all knew that that was happening. Like, we're in an era now where clubs are not the people that are able to control the pace at which news gets out when it regards them. Instead, we're in a world where information leaks out in all sort of directions. It's sort of... I don't know if many of you will have watched The Thick of It, but this is a spoiler for The Thick of It, sort of. The final series sort of floats around the concept of leaking in politics and how it's such a sort of important, significant thing and how it's becoming far more prevalent in a digital sort of world. And this is sort of the crux of it. We're in a position where information leaks out of everywhere all the time. There are very, very few secrets in the world of football now. So the fact that this is being discussed by sort of everybody except the club doesn't mean that it isn't happening. Instead, it means that it's happening, but the club don't want to officially announce it yet. And I think that sort of... I understand the hesitance towards discussing deals that aren't 100% done and written down and concrete yet. But at the same time, a lot of what you're doing in that situation is restricting yourself from actual good information purely because you're sort of like, well, what if? And I feel like leaning into the what if is not really the one, you know? You can say the same as Charles, but to be fair, again, that's still an ongoing thing, and it seems to be a very positive-looking ongoing thing, according to quite a lot of sources, not only from me, but from other people. If one person is telling you, look, I know a guy that knows a thing, and is like, that's a little bit If multiple people are saying, look, we all know separate people who know separate things, and it all adds up to this big sort of tale, you go, fantastic, brilliant, all good. Because that's sort of... the cross-referencing is what makes a story, in my opinion. It's what makes it significantly more accurate. Will we have a double announcement? I severely doubt it. We're not really a side that does double announcements a lot of the time. It tends to be things confirmed, get it out. Because it's sort of a more comfortable way of doing it. Like, get the story out as soon as you feasibly can, because at that point they can start actually training with the squad. Because if you're doing training at Thorpe Arch and you're outside and you're sort of having sort of training moments, then there's a pretty good chance they get photographed, and at that point, well, you've waited on an announcement, and yet they've been pictured. And the alternative is having them not training, at which point they're losing a little bit of fitness. So I think just getting players announced as soon as they're done is comfortably the easiest way of doing things. Paixão went on for nearly 2 months. Was it that long? Jesus. The biggest part is agreeing terms with the player. That seems incredibly comfortable, as far as I can tell. And a lot of that, in my opinion, comes from the way that the information has come out. So the fact of the matter is, it was all out through Fabrizio Romano. And we all know that when information floods out to Fabrizio Romano, it comes from one of two routes. One of the involved clubs, and Sassuolo are in a position where they don't really need to use Romano in this situation. And Leeds United don't really leak things at all, to be honest with you. Or it's the player and the player's agent, and the player's agent seems to be in a position of, right, actively encouraging the move to Leeds United. Come on, let's talk about it. Leeds United are the leading club in this chase, and the alternatives are Sunderland and Bournemouth, but Leeds United are the number one, and that's the big one. And that's been all the conversation from the beginning, and it would feel incredibly weird from the agent to be doing that if he, A, didn't want to come to Leeds United, and B, hadn't effectively agreed the deal yet. Which is why I think it's a little bit of a curious one. I think personal terms, not a problem. I've seen that reported in multiple places that is done for a net £3.5 million a year or 70 grand a week, which again sounds relatively high. Where does that fall actually? compared to other Leeds United player wages? Let's have a look, shall we? This is using Capology, which isn't 100%, but you know what? It has a go, and you can't be too mad at that. Premier League salaries, club Leeds United. Come on, Capology, you can do it. I believe in you. So 70 grand would make him one of the higher earners in the squad. In terms of other player wages, Okafor is on 72.5 grand, which is significant, but it's understandably significant. He plays a very big role. Ampadu is on 70. So it'd bring him level with Ethan Ampadu, but that makes a little bit of sense because we're trying to attract him to the club as opposed to sort of, I don't know how to phrase it. We're trying to draw him in rather than keep him, and it's far cheaper to keep a player than it is to attract a player when it comes to wages. So that's why I can see us pushing for the 70-ish, but that's completely fine. That's roughly the amount of money that you can expect to spend on very, very, very promising footballers in the Premier League. Dan James is also in that sort of area. He's 75 grand a week, apparently, which makes a bit of sense. Reasonably well paid because he signed that in the Championship, and he will have expected a little bit of a pay rise, and he was very important in the Championship, but depending on the direction from that, we don't know. Evening, Joe. Any concrete rumours of keepers Leeds are trying to get outside of the usual Suzuki Trafford? Let's have a look at my wonderful notes. So, my notes on the keeper section is that Newcastle had added their interest to the Suzuki conversation, which makes things far more difficult in that regard, because it's just another club that's added onto the pile. So many different sides want a piece of the Zion Suzuki pie. That's going to be a pretty rich pie, and it's going to be expensive to get a slice of because everyone wants a slice of pie. However, and a lot of that makes me think that like Suzuki's agent is working incredibly hard, but I don't know. Then you've got two goalkeepers that have become part of the conversation. You have Kane van Ubelen, who was a goalkeeper at Volendam last season. Very, very good save percentage. I think he had the best save percentage in Eredivisie. And pretty good in terms of goals prevented. So that's XG based, which means that, like, this is why I don't like save percentage as a metric. There we go. Thanks, words. Because if you have 6p rollers just like gently sort of easing towards you and you block all those, well done. 100% save percentage. However, if you have 5 absolute screamers, you keep 4 of them out, but one of them goes top bins, then you've got a worse save percentage despite being significantly more impressive. So I don't really like that as a metric. But in terms of XG prevented as well, I think he's looking pretty damn good. But I will summon SofaScore to take a look. SofaScore, Kane van Ubelen. Also, I like the way that his name is Kane, but with a Y. And that's got a little bit of swaz to it, you know. Please say they've got XG. Oh! So across last season, 32 appearances. His goals prevented, which is the goals that he blocked compared to goals he should have blocked, he saved 8 more goals than he'd be expected to. Which, over the course of 32 games, is every 4 games he's saving you a goal more than the average goalkeeper would be aware of. So that's pretty fucking solid, to be honest with you. Remember, Joe, good sources. Indeed, that's what you get down the chippy. Why do these transfers take ages to get done? Because all transfers do. I think the way that we're looking at it right now is you will look at other clubs and be like, damn, you got that move done ridiculously quick, but the reason that it looks like that is because you follow the Leeds United news at every single step of the way. Whereas for other clubs, you see, oh, this is rumoured to be in its later stages, and it's done. Like, you've not seen the nitty-gritty behind-the-scenes stuff for a lot of clubs' deals, which is why it feels like ours takes significantly longer. But every club goes through this. It takes a while. You sort of gradually work through your stuff. It's not going to be snappy, instant, done kind of stuff for the vast majority of transfers, which is, you know, that's normal. Where are we? Dan James on 70. Seeing Piru back in training for us gives me comfort. Sly, of course it does, because you have awful takes all the time. You're looking forward to the half-final. That's a suspicious sentence based on conversations I've had recently. So if you're who I think you are, say it. But that's highly suspicious. But yes, I'm looking forward to the semi-final. I would like a Spain win because I feel like Spain are the more beatable of the two sides. I know that's a weird thing to say considering Spain have conceded very little this tournament, but it still feels like that is the slightly more feasible one to do. France are a bit Death Star at the moment, and I would like us to avoid that if it's possible. Wasn't the Bosnian guy shut down by Leeds journos about his agent paying Fab to drum up interest? If it was just Romano saying things, I would agree, but the fact of the matter is it's been floated around in various different directions. So I think it's a little bit beyond that at this point. Sly, you are just talking about various transfers that aren't going to happen, including Patrick Beach. There we go. Thanks, Brian. Leeds journals always last a note. Yeah, they tend to be, which is why I don't I'm not as spooked as a lot of people seem to be around this story. Apparently, Newcastle offered 17 million for Suzuki. I did see that, and that makes me think that his agent is working overtime at the moment. Because if we've been told 30 million, I have no idea where 17 has come from in the Newcastle conversation. That or their source is really, really bad. But Joe, why would these players be attracted to Leeds when there are more established PL clubs like Newcastle, Bournemouth, and Crystal Palace, with the latter two in Europe as well as Sunderland? One, relatively guaranteed starting space. So Muharemovic will look at Leeds United and go, I start there no matter what. Because he's an incredibly talented player, and our starting left centre-back has gone, and he is left-footed and would fill in that role incredibly well. In addition to that, one, you've got the sort of football heritage side of things in terms of like legacy of club. We're a little bit better than Bournemouth, and I would say that we're in a better position than Sunderland. But you've also got the long-term planning. So whilst Bournemouth is sat in that absolute shed they call the Vitality with a genuinely dreadful kit that they've got, we're in a stadium that already fits 37,000, which is more than Bournemouth's. Admittedly, it's less than the Stadium of Light, but that's fine. It is I would say, a nicer ground than the Stadium of Light. But in addition to that, we've got a full regeneration project going on. We are regenerating the entire area around the stadium. We are improving the stadium itself, which means that if you want to come to a modern club that actually has a plan in place, Leeds is a club that just makes a lot of sense, and that's why I can feel a lot of players like this going, you know what, that might be my move, as opposed to fun hiccup, as opposed to Sunderland looks interesting. Which Sunderland might look interesting, but then again, I think we're in a little bit of a better spot long term, whereas in the short term, they're better league position than us doesn't really mean that much, to be honest with you. Where are we? Some people think Cross and Smith are the Bible, not just mouthpieces of the... I wouldn't call them just mouthpieces for the club. Like, Barron and Graham do a lot of genuine journalism. But it's also a case of different people have different sources and all that kind of stuff. You would be correct, Baby Zebra. Also, was the half-final thing you? Or the person that you're hanging out with? Because it feels like it might be. Because that's suspicious. We got pre-season tour done, get it sorted out now. I think we will do. We'll get the main bits of business done relatively soon. And it's going forwards that it might take a little bit longer. Right, never mind. It doesn't matter. I have a feeling Ramsdale will end up at Leeds. No, I don't. I don't get the Ramsdale feeling at all. I've heard people mention the Ramsdale thing quite often, but it's one of those where people look at him and go, well, he probably wants out, and Leeds United are looking for a keeper. Therefore, if I add 1 and 1, then it adds up to 2. But I don't realistically think that's necessarily the case. I'm going to do a quick test, by the way, right? So I'm going to need people to put something in the chat, but it's going to be dependent on what you think. And I'm going to ask you to wait until I'm finished with what I'm about to run through to just sort of get an idea of what you're thinking. So, if you think we will get neither Shea Charles nor Muharemovic, pop a 0 in the chat. If you think we will get only Shea Charles, pop a 1 in the chat. If you think we will only get Muharemovic, pop a 2 in the chat. And if you think we get both, pop a 3 in the chat. I am very curious about what people think is going to happen, and I cannot be bothered writing out the poll for it. So, a little bit curious what people are thinking. Spam your numbers now, and we'll get a rough idea of where people are at. I've just realised I should have kept count of these numbers using a tally chart, and look at all the numbers. They said, look at all the numbers. Oh, wonderful. I think 2 was Muharemovic, right? I think so. Ah, well. The only person saying 0 is Sly, and that makes a lot of sense. We've got a good few 3s in there. We've got mainly 1s as opposed to 2s. So if it's only one of them, it is looking like Charles, according to you guys, which, fair enough. But it is also looking fairly significantly like both, according to quite a lot of you, which is a very, very positive sign. It's showing that people think that there is a move in the offing, which is kind of what we need to do. Like, get a little bit of a shift and get some momentum going, get the players in. And I think getting a Charles in, toodaloo. Getting a Charles in now, lovely. Getting a Muharemovic in now, lovely. Get them in for as much of pre-season as possible, brilliant. It's a clickbait joke. They like telling stories, all mouth show, no action. It took ages to announce Harry F. Wilson. Yeah, that's because Harry Wilson was on holiday. I'm not going to be too mad at a guy for taking a little bit of time out, and especially when on holiday he was doing fitness training. Like, you can say it's just telling stories, but at the same time, you could have said that when we were saying that Harry Wilson was done a while back, and then it was done. Why do we need Charles? Because he's a championship player. Okay, right, I'll put it this way. Last season, before this time last year, before we had played any football in the Premier League, Ampadu was a championship player. Tanaka was a championship player. Rodon was a championship player because he just played in the championship. Darlow was a championship player. At that point, Bogle was a championship player. Gruev was a championship player. Peru, fair enough. That feels mean. Aronson was a championship player. You can't just judge people based on the league that they most recently played in, because that feels ridiculous, to be honest with you. Like, they can't control the fact that they were playing in the championship and playing a hell of a lot of championship football at the age of 22. Like, I'm not going to be too mad at Shea Charles for being at Southampton as opposed to anywhere else. Like, come on, let's pull it together. Hang on. No, I don't care about substitute. Why are you showing me the substitutes more than the first team, GFFN? France 11, Magnon, Digne. Digne starting for France right now is weird to me. Ooh, Digne starting against Lamine Yamal is going to be fun. Saliba, Upamecano at centre-back, Koundé at right-back, Rabiot, Chouameni, Barcola, Elise, Dembele. I would have expected Doué in there somewhere. And then Mbappe, with Spain going Unai Simon, Cucurella, Laporte, Kubasi, Pedro Porro, Fabian Ruiz, Rodri, Bina, Olmo, Yamal, Oyarzabal. I think Spain might do that, you know. Well, anyway. Would love for both. Certainly, both want the move. It's just a case of agreeing a fee. Highly possible. Just have to beat our competition. Yeah, that's the main question mark. Do we throw enough money at it compared to what you will see other sides throw at it? But I think we will. I don't see that being a particular problem. Ampadu is a championship player with multiple relegations on his CV. Yeah, and on the face of it, you wouldn't have signed Ethan Ampadu, but then we had Ethan Ampadu, and he was one of our better players last season. So I think judging someone by the league that they've played in is really harsh. You need to look at the play that you're actually getting, as opposed to, well, here's some incredibly base information, and I'm going to make an analysis based on that. It's a bit daft. I don't quite get it. I hope these signings have Farkas seal of approval. If not, they might go the same way as Largy, Perry, and Schmidt, who are all 49 signings who've been subject to criticism from Parker on the way out. Schmidt, I don't think, was a good enough wing back. He was a little bit too good at the wandering off stuff, which is spooky. Which is why we only played him as a winger. Perry, I agree, wasn't a Farker signing, but I think the thing that got in Lucas Perry's way was the fact that we'd already just had a goalkeeper that made a lot of mistakes. So he far more quickly went, right, safe hands of Darlow, there we go, that'll do the job, rather than risking it for an extended period of time. Largely, yeah, that's one way you probably go. Just sort of didn't suit Daniel Farker much, to be honest with you. It's all clickbait. We are not going to pay that kind of money for a centre back. I mean, a hell of a lot of places are saying that we are. And you can shout clickbait, but at the end of the day, it's, for me, something is clickbait if it is actively dishonest. This is not a point of dishonesty. This is a point of the genuine feeling is it's on that sort of general direction. If you like, keep on shouting in the chat because the engagement 1000% helps me. Thank you very much. What's the penalty for spending more than they're allowed? I say go all in, get these players ASAP. Points deductions. And the reason that I am always 100% like do not overspend is because of the Leicester situation. Because Leicester overspent and Leicester have eaten shit for quite some time now and aren't looking too comfy. Like, sure, they should go up from League One, but it's not a guarantee, you know? Don't know any of them very well. Like a few of our previous signings, it's like going down to a Chinese and finding out they don't have what you want, you'll find something tasty. Yeah, we'll go for that. That's the metaphor. You just pick something off the menu. Like, I can't read Chinese, like, lettering. But if I pick the right thing on the menu, oh, it's delicious. There's a little bit of MSG in there. Good stuff. Soy sauce. Good stuff. Miso. Good stuff. And it all combines together into a delicious package called Anton Stack. And then everyone's really, really happy because it's really yummy. And yeah, I like that metaphor. I'm going to use that metaphor more. Villa director has said Martinez will stay at Villa, might give us a clearer shot at Suzuki. If that is the case, then that 100% clears up the route for Suzuki. The only other potential issue would therefore be Juventus, which fairly reasonably could be a bit of a problem. But it'll be fine. Whatever. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Alright, where are we? I liked it. Oh, there they go. Somerville, Stroke, and Pirro. Oh, they're all going to leave us. Killian's dictatorship comes to an end today. That'd be nice. I'd quite like it. We ain't getting points deductions. You could do, and you don't want to fuck with it. If Ilan and Darlow had a year left on their contract, do you think Man United and Arsenal respectively paid Leeds United a fee for them, or because it was because they were on a free? They wouldn't have gotten fees, I don't think. I think Arsenal were just looking for someone that they can get on the cheap as a replacement that is serviceable. Man United were looking for someone a little bit more experienced that could do a stint in net. If it wasn't going to be those, it was going to be someone else that they could get for free. At some point, we're going to have to pay big to get better players, just the way it works. Can't always get free bargains. Yeah, and I think getting decent value players is what we will do anyway. It's not just going to be a case of throw cash at the wall and hope that something comes back. It'll be reasonably intelligent purchases. It's just a case of getting it done, you know? Right, where are we? No, the FA doesn't like Leeds to probably get 100 points selections. Yeah, why not? Clearly to buy a keeper and centre-back, not unreasonable to look at who might be coming whilst accepting that the stories have inconsistent levels of verification and validity. Yeah, like, that's the thing. You can... right, this is a genuine piece of advice to anyone that is in my chat or watching my streams that is of the opinion that anything in terms of transfer news or rumour isn't worth watching because it's not guaranteed news. If you just want guaranteed news, just go to the Leeds United website and just refresh that a load of times, and eventually something will come through. But if you want to have some idea of what's actually going on, I'm here to discuss. Where were we? Do all clubs have the same amount of money to spend? No, it is a percentage of revenue. I believe 85%, but if you're in Europe, 70%? Something like that. So, weirdly, we'll probably be in a better position than Sunderland this season. Anyone using the Dutch keeper for a backup keeper? No especially new news recently, which is fine. That happens, I suppose. Like, you're not going to get new news every single day, which is completely okay. That's a lot of shit. Never get 100, but you never know. Am I doing a semi-final watch along? I am not, because I'm going to go about nowish, because again, I got a baby to take care of. I would do a little bit of a short stream, and then I'm going to do baby looking after, and I'll have a video ready in the morning. Leicester City had bad or poor recruitment, plus they took out bank loans to purchase Winks and Connor Cody. Quite a few of their players were on high salaries in the Championship, like Vardy, Winks, Cody. Yes, they were knacked, which is why I'm quite happy with our strategy of being clever with our spending as opposed to just like throwing cash at the wall, which I'm glad that we're not doing. But anyway, I'm going to leave that stream there. Thank you everyone for coming along and chatting. It's been a wonderful time. If you enjoyed, please pop a like on the stream. As always, that'd be massively appreciated. I'm going to see if there's anyone to redirect everyone over to in a moment, which would be absolutely lovely if you could join me if I find anybody. Let's have a look. No one in particular. So in that case, I'm going to end that stream there. So I hope you enjoyed. If you did, pop a like on the stream, subscribe, become a channel member, all that fun stuff. Hope you all enjoyed. And I will see you all later. Toodaloo. And I will see you for another stream tomorrow, probably. Ta-ra.